Hello, my name's Kevin. I am the typical cripple, and I am with,
Bizarro Czar.
and we are here recounting my life story, such as it is. So, we're at grad school. I did talk a little bit about it. Um, let's talk a little more. So, so let's talk a little bit about caregiving.
Okay.
Um, because when I was an undergrad at Central, I used a lot of students to do caregiving, given that there were lots of young people looking for work and always cash strapped. It worked out.
Are
Guess
you you are are you able to just hire whoever, or how does that work?
under that program, which was COPES, of course, the government um, administrators, they like to uh, change things around a bit. So that program no longer available to me. Um, yeah, they had to pass a background check, which they didn't always check. I had one guy that had a warrant out for his arrest, but he lived next door to me in the dorm. Seemed like a nice enough guy at the time.
How did the so
Huh?
they do background checks, but they didn't catch a warrant?
Yes.
How does that work? Okay.
Well, it was probably due to the database. It was for, he didn't have a statewide warrant, it was only a county warrant.
Oh, so it hadn't gotten into their system or whatever.
Well, at the time, you're only sifting so much, and if you start finding things and start preventing people from working, uh, there's a desire sometimes to not look so hard.
Right.
So that may have been the case, but he was actually a really good guy, a really good caregiver. I liked him a lot, and it was very personal. I got to know these people well. Um, and then when I went to Hawaii, it was all agency based. So I remember these two caregivers I had, Nikki and CJ. These women they were fine as caregivers, but if one was working, the other one would show up to give, um, just hang out. I think that was against policy, but nobody said anything. Um, but they were pretty funny. They'd come in and be like, Kevin, you're going to bed. Unless you want to wait for the bars to close. And I'd be like, well, yeah, I'll go to bed. Um, they were interesting people, to say the least. And first time I saw them, they were dressed up in these purple scrubs and like, who called the Barney Squad? And they're like, oh, you don't like us? We'll leave. And it's like, oh. My, anyways, getting there, my dad was, I lived in this dorm called Hale La Lima, which was Hale for Hawaiian for house. Given that Hawaii was going through a bit of a anti-colonial backlash,
Hmm.
they didn't. They wanted to go to Hawaiian this and Hawaiian that. So yeah, I kind of went along with it. What am I gonna say? I live up in D block. But anyway, I lived in a dorm. That was fun. Uh, Collective showers, collective toilets. So one time CJ goes, I gotta go to the bathroom, and somebody had sky puked all over the bathroom,
Eesh.
all over the stall. Just disgusting. And nobody cleaned it out, so for me to poop, she's like, you better like this, dude. And she went and cleaned it out so I could get on the toilet and do my thing.
I have
Uh,
nightmares about filthy restrooms.
oh, don't go to college. That's for dang sure. Um,
I think that's where those nightmares originated.
well, okay.
School bathrooms in
Well,
general.
here's the thing. It's like people don't take care of things that aren't theirs.
Yeah.
And
Public restrooms.
right. Well, a little bit later, I got an on-campus apartment. Ended up staying there. My first roommate seemed like a nice guy, but later turned out to be racist.
A racist against who?
Me.
So what was he?
Well, he was Chinese, but
Oh,
I
okay.
didn't look at it as any particular thing. But he was from Maui, and he had a spinal cord injury, so he and I tended to butt heads politically and culturally. One time he comes on with this stuff called oxtail soup. Literally smelled like crap.
Oxtail. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, sure they didn't go below a little sure they didn't go a little low with the oxtail. And he got angry at me over that. And one time I was
I
eating,
wonder why.
well,
I'm just kidding.
you know, some people get really upset when you try to joke with them, and you know, it's whatever. One time he comes in, he's like, "Oh, that stuff smells like crap." And I'm like, so what I would do is I had a hard time eating rice all the time because in Hawaii everything's got rice in it, unless you go to McDonald's or Denny's or other places like that. Um, but
They didn't put rice in the Big Macs or anything.
no, but McDonald's does have loco moco and which is rice, egg, and hamburger patty.
Hmm.
Um, that's not bad. So what I'd start doing is putting Heinz 57 sauce on my rice to make it better, and it really was good. But he comes in, that stuff smells like crap. And I'm like, oh, I like the oxtail soup. Ah! Couple of times he wanted to fight me. I'm just like, dude, are you kidding? He's like, when I was younger and could do stuff. I'm like, yeah, don't even go there. But I did notice he didn't wear his seatbelt much, and he had long hair. What can a guy do with that? I'll just leave
Uh-oh.
you. Well, if he comes after me, I gotta defend myself.
Pull him out of his chair.
Well, it's like grab his hair and go reverse. I mean, that would stop it.
Yeah.
I think last week to talk about a caregiver we had together. She was awesome, except for a few things, and she cared for both of us. For her, it was a windfall. And
You got paid for both?
yeah, she'd get him in the shower first, and then I'd do it afterwards. But I saw the value of sharing care. She was over there all the time, just hanging out, and it was nice.
Yeah.
And I mean, here's the thing: for each individual person, you could have for each individual, I require like 2 or 3 people a week. Well, what if you put 3 or 4 people like me, as far as abilities and whatnot are concerned, and put them together? I don't need somebody around me constantly. I just need someone around in certain times.
Hmm.
And but I have constancy because I have a certain irregularity to things I need done. That's a lot easier just to have someone around for 12 hours. But I'm not the only one. So for me, since we were both that way, it's like, hey, I'm killing 2 birds with 1 stone here. And that was fun because she eventually got a disabled accessible van.
Hmm.
It's like a V-dub. So you had to really duck and get down and keep your head cockeyed when she's driving. Uh, we went to see Alien 3 at Restaurant Row. It was amazing.
Hmm.
Um, she took me into the female bathroom so I could go
How very
because
progressive.
right, it's like you're coming with me. Oh, she is a former drill sergeant, so she just any females in delicate situations, I'm bringing in a male. And everyone's like all weirded out, and we just go right in the stall. Okay, Kevin, make shishi. I made shishi, and that was it. So it's really uneventful. I don't see what the big deal is going into a female bathroom. They don't look different. Less urinals. For all
Tell,
those,
tell, tell the people in Loudoun County that.
well, right,
That's a
right,
different
right.
topic.
I mean that. I don't like that all. But here's a situation where a male needs to go into a female bathroom. Um, that happened like once in my life.
Yeah.
So, um, I'm not a fan of all the trans stuff. I think that leads to. Let's talk about that later.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I
That's a
had
whole nother
roommate.
can of worms.
I had lots of different roommates. I had this one roommate that got drunk all the time when he was moving out. I had to call an RA to kind of. He just passed out on the couch. He wouldn't wake up, so I'm like smacking him and stuff. Hey, get out of the house! You got another place. And then my RA comes in, picks him up, drags him out. Okay, Kevin, have a nice night.
How do you be that dysfunctional and a grad student?
He wasn't a grad student. He's just a student.
Oh, okay.
When you're living in the dorms, they don't segregate dorms.
Gotcha.
And yeah, that was interesting. But again, it's like, living on, out in society, you have to work with those people. You have to negotiate how to live with people like that. I had this other roommate that he was kind of a quitter, but since his family was wealthy, he had a friend of his live with him full time as his kind of caregiver, and that guy helped me out once. One night, I had ants in my bed,
Ooh,
and they were biting me,
yikes.
and I'm just like, hey. After the caregiver left, and I'm kind of stuck, so I got him up and, hey, I got stuff being bit behind me. Okay, pulled me out of bed, changed the bedding, put me back to bed. that worked out.
Hmm.
That guy was super cool. I really liked him. Um, but and then I had this other guy who was getting his MBA. He was pretty cool. He was the dude from Rhode Island.
Hmm.
Took me swimming once. I just lying there in the water enjoying it. He's like, "Do something, swim." I'm like, "What do you want me to do?" So I started just like splashing around. He's like, "Ah," because he goes paddleboarding and sea kayaking. So he wasn't quite, he's like, "Hey, let me put you in the water, see what you can do." I'm like, "All right." I just
Not drowned?
not drown. Yeah, I do have a life vest that I
Okay.
wear, but
That's good.
if I go full dead man, I am a dead man.
Yeah.
So I'm like, just throw me on my back, I'll be fine. Um, a friend of mine did take me swimming on a regular basis
Hmm.
down at the pool for a while. It got a little cumbersome because we'd have to figure our schedules, but there was one summer. We were going down there once a week, and we'd put me in a dead man's position with snorkel and mask. And but the thing is, she had to stay right next to me because if I got water in the snorkel, I'm just like screwed.
Yeah.
Um, but that was fun, and I think the best thing about Hawaii was the weather, and secondly was there were enough people there that were willing to socialize. Um,
Hmm.
that I was, it's kind of like this. You have people around you, and then you got your sphere of friends. Um, that was bigger there.
How much do you think it was the location versus the time? I feel like I could be wrong about this, but I feel
Mm.
like as the internet and social media has taken over more and more, we've become even less, more isolated, less social with those around us.
Well, I think it depends on how you use social media. If you're an influencer, it's a one-to-many relationship, and um, that gets more or less to the point of feeding the beast
Right.
rather than relationship. I think a lot of people at our church use social media to keep track of people they physically know,
Mm-hmm.
and that's fine. I know that for myself, I only got 70 friends on Facebook, but I don't know hardly any of them.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Well, anymore. A lot of them were like, like people from Hawaii. I don't know them anymore.
Right. I mean, that's what my Facebook is kind of like that, where it's people
Right.
I knew and at the time, but we don't really keep in there's a
Well,
few of them I keep in contact with, but
it's very hard to have relationships with people that, um, for me, I can't type.
yeah.
Um, I used Dragon Naturally Speaking to some effect. I wrote my thesis using a Dragon Dictate, which the difference between the two is one where you say each word individually, and under those circumstances, I can do well because I'm forced to enunciate. Where if you talk naturally, uh, the computer has to break up the words,
Right.
add punctuation, so you get lots of um, unintelligible language.
Yeah.
Um,
Sorry, you were talking about you had a lot of people around you in Hawaii, and
well, yeah, it was well. I made a community at Central. I made it. I made part of a community, part of a community of both places. But one was, but they're both set up in very different ways. The one at Central had probably more diverse in ideology and thought, more than racial.
mm,
But in Hawaii, it was a cultural mishmash, and that was interesting. We had this one girl. She was from the island of Chuuk, and um, very nice, very sweet, um, but different. There were other people from. We had this one guy from Taiwan. He was getting his PhD in chemical engineering. Smart as a whip, but never said a word outside of class or. I think his name was Lin. I could never tell whether that was his first name or, hey, what's up, man? But one time I went on a retreat in Campus Crusade. No, um, yeah, Campus Crusade, and I got a really good shot of him looking off into the distance. I'm like, ooh, that was really good. Not much of a photographer, but that was one good shot. Um, but the Christian groups were a way to get away from the um, ideology and the insanity of what was going on through the school.
yeah,
I remember one time they were hanging somebody in protest. Well,
effigy.
hanging effigy in protest. I just like, dear God, people, get a grip. Um, but I mean, if you give them what they want, they must agree at some level, and that was insane. And I've seen it getting worse
Oh yeah,
now.
yeah.
And anyway, all right, that's good enough for this one.
All right,
Are we ready to close?
sure.
All right. My name's Kevin. I'm the typical cripple.
And I'm Bizarro Czar.
All right. See you on the next bounce.
Adios.